The news cycle is calling this a decisive victory because Iran's nuclear facilities were struck. But the real story isn't what was destroyed in Tehran, it is what we just burned through at home. Sources confirm that during the 39-day campaign, the United States expended virtually its entire stockpile of long-range precision missiles like Tomahawks, Patriots, and JASSMs. We traded a tactical win for a strategic deficit. Our ability to deter China or Russia in the Indo-Pacific is now critically compromised because we have no bullets left in the chamber. When leaders announce military action, headlines focus on targets destroyed and enemies neutralized. Yet behind every missile launch lies an industrial reality that rarely makes the evening news. The United States spent over $16.5 billion by day 12 of this conflict, a figure driven largely by munitions that simply do not exist in sufficient quantity to replace what was fired. In just 100 hours of intense combat operations, $3.7 billion worth of long-range capability vanished into the atmosphere or the ocean floor. This is not an accounting error, it is a depletion event. To understand why this matters for global stability, we must look at the specific inventory that has been drained. The conflict consumed over 50% of pre-war stockpiles for 4 key munitions in just 39 days. For systems like Tomahawk cruise missiles and Patriot interceptors, the numbers are starkly low. Fewer than 1,000 Patriots remain after a campaign where they were fired at high rates to protect Allied airspace. Approximately 250 THAAD units are left standing. These are not generic projectiles. They represent years of manufacturing capacity dedicated to specific threat profiles that we now face elsewhere in the world. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. The strategic implication hinges on what these missiles actually do for American power projection. The United States relies on long-range precision weapons to strike high-value targets from safe distances, keeping pilots and ships out of harm's way. When a pilot launches an expensive JASSM missile costing $2.6 million, they are engaging enemy air defenses without entering the kill zone themselves. In contrast, cheaper alternatives like JDMs cost roughly $66,000 for similar payloads, but require aircraft to fly much closer to hostile territory. Losing access to long-range options means our pilots must now enter these dangerous zones because we have run out of the missiles that allow us to strike from a distance. This is not just about budget, it is about the survival of aircrews and the feasibility of high-intensity operations against peer competitors who possess dense, modern air defense networks. Rebuilding this capability is not a matter of weeks or months. The industrial base required to produce these complex systems cannot be switched on instantly. Current production lines project a recovery timeline ranging from 1 to 4 years, depending on the specific system in question. Tomahawk cruise missiles and Patriot interceptors face a 3-year gap before returning to pre-war levels, while standard missiles used for sea-based defense take roughly 2 years to replenish. During this window, the United States enters what can only be described as a strategic vacuum regarding great power competition. The timing of this depletion is particularly dangerous because it coincides with rising tensions in the Indo-Pacific and Eastern Europe. The U.S. military previously entered this conflict with inventories that were already deemed insufficient for sustained peer-to-peer warfare against China or Russia. Now, the reserve needed to fight a high-intensity war in Asia has been consumed by operations in the Middle East. While we can win short wars like the one fought against Iran, we lack the depth to sustain a prolonged conflict with a major power without risking catastrophic failure. This creates an immediate vulnerability where adversaries can calculate that American hesitation might be more likely than intervention during this 3 to 4 year window of reduced readiness. This dynamic forces difficult choices regarding alliance commitments and global security architecture. The United States must simultaneously replenish its own stockpiles to deter China or Russia while fulfilling urgent orders for allies like Ukraine, who are currently engaged in a war of attrition against Russian forces. With global demand outstripping supply capacity, aid to partners will inevitably be delayed as domestic needs take precedence during the multi-year rebuild process. This creates a strategic dilemma where American security guarantees become less reliable precisely when adversaries are most aggressive. The cost of this victory is a period where the United States cannot guarantee it has enough missiles to stop a major escalation in Asia or Europe, shifting the balance of power away from American dominance and toward our competitors. The financial reality underscores the severity of the situation. Approximately $31 billion of the first 100 hours costs went strictly to replacing missiles that were never budgeted for replacement because they are considered part of a strategic reserve rather than expendable ammunition. This highlights a fundamental flaw in how modern military planning accounts for high-end conflict. We treat these weapons as infinite resources until the moment they run out, at which point it is too late to react quickly enough. The industrial base simply cannot scale production fast enough to meet sudden surges in demand without years of lead time and massive capital investment that does not happen overnight. For curious observers following world events, this situation changes how we must view American power projection moving forward. It suggests a future where the United States may need to rely more heavily on cheaper munitions or accept higher risks for its personnel when engaging sophisticated adversaries. The ability to deter aggression relies as much on having enough ammunition in storage as it does on the sophistication of the weapons themselves. When that inventory is gone, diplomatic leverage evaporates because allies and adversaries alike know that American military options have been exhausted. The United States has traded a tactical victory against Iran for a multi-year strategic gap with China and Russia. This shift will define security calculations in Washington and Beijing for years to come. The question is no longer just about who wins the next battle, but whether we can fight the war that matters most when our magazines are empty. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.